Howdy, y'all. Joe Hills here, recording as I always do in Nashville, Tennessee. As you can tell, we are back here below the sea. Ocean, whatever mysteries you hold, are mysteries that now include our own. We are working on our minigame project. I've got some really neat ideas that involve combining the lectern tricks that we focused on in our last episode with some basic logic gates and some rail lines. I was thinking about it, and there's this visceral feeling of dig straight down that comes from the elevation changes. And just having a game where you're standing still at a lectern just doesn't have that. So I was thinking, what if we found a way to put you on a train where, depending on what pages you're turned to in books, like the rail cart would go, and then you'd get to a book, and then you'd make a decision, and then you press a button, it goes again. Now, I need to mock all of the core concepts of this up before we can move forward with it. And in order to do that, I've started working on this Redstone Lab area here. It turns out you can put all of these components on glass. I didn't know that. So what I want to do next is I want to go over to Scar's Glass Shop and just buy a ton of glass and just multi-layer glass in this entire thing for Redstone Lab. So that'll allow us to not only do what we want to do with this cool thing, but also get us set up for future things in the future. So, let's go into the future. Time skip. Whoa, that was... Maybe the future won't all be that bad. To allow the player of our minecart coaster game to make decisions for themselves, we're going to have two components. We're going to have a book that they can turn pages into, and then, depending on how far they turn in the book, when they press some sort of button, we need an AND gate to make sure that they have signal both from the proper page and from the button. Now, to build an AND gate, traditionally, you would put two redstone torches across from each other on top of blocks, with redstone between them, and then you'd have a redstone torch coming out here that would carry a signal. And that works great when you use blocks that carry a charge. Now, unfortunately, glass in Minecraft is mostly made of silicate that does not carry a charge at all. Now, if we get something that has, like, full of salt water, for example, something with a lot of electrolytes in it, like these sponges here, you can see that enabling this, basically, unless both of these switches are on, this one won't turn on. That's what an AND gate is. It says it will only work if this and this meet certain conditions. If either one does not meet those conditions, or if both don't meet those conditions, then this will not fire. So we can use that to, once again, verify that the person is on the right page and that they have pressed the button before allowing them to continue. If we don't give people the choice of whether or not to continue on this terrifying roller coaster through some sort of action like button presses or whatnot, then they're just going to be resigned to their fate. It's only a press your luck game if there's something to press. So we're going to embrace that. But anyway, let's go ahead and see how that'll interact with the rail system. Time skip. Well, we've been working night and day, and night has yet returned. But look what we have learned. I have taken another piece of this project and started working on it independently. What we've got here is a rail line. Right now, we don't have the rail line hooked up to the AND gate thing that will check whether or not somebody got the answer right in the book or pushed too far or whatever. But what we can do with that, though, later is we will hook the AND gate that I showed earlier into this sensor here that comes out. This is a timed triggered sensor that will make the slime block pop the card up from one gap to another. And then we would have lava here if you didn't have the book in the right position. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to hop in. I'm going to show you guys how this slime piston works. I got the idea for this from Duke of Minecraft. So there we go. That just slowly brings us around here. On the actual thing, it would be more dramatic because we'd have like a gold rail to catch us, and then we'd spin around again, that sort of thing. But core concept, if the book is in the right position, this triggers on time. If it's in the wrong position, it doesn't trigger on time, and then you end up in the lava. Now, also, because this is to some degree a push your luck game, what I was thinking of doing was to say, even if you get the question right, there will be a chance, because of a random number generator, that this will still trigger poorly and at the wrong time, and you'll end up straight in the drink. So every time that you get to your next lectern, you get to make the decision, do I want to get off the cart with the stuff I've already retrieved? And ideally what we would do is we'd have a bunch of these kind of trigger rails where as you're going along the rail, it's like dropping prizes on you and stuff. So you get prizes the longer you ride the coaster, but you also run the risk of going in the lava because that slime block didn't trigger. Now, in real life, I say real life, on actual implementation, we're going to probably have to have a bigger gap here than this. We're going to have to do some other things to make this work better. But this should be a reasonable start. So let's go ahead and work on some more iterations. Timeskip. We are back here in our Redstone Lab beneath the Ministry of Truth. You might notice that there's this whole piece of this pillar missing, and that some of these walls here have been blown out. Well, let me tell you what. Last year, during the Hermitcraft prank war, this pillar was where I hid a whole bunch of my prank supplies. And once I knew that some of the other hermits knew it was there, I actually went ahead and I trapped the entire pillar. So if anybody went inside there, it would set off a bunch of TNT. Now, something has caused it to go off in the meantime. Nobody else was online except Asuma, and he didn't die in the process. So I'm trying to figure out if the entire trap has been blown up by some sort of random zombie that spawned in here, or what. Yeah, well, as far as I can tell, yeah, this is the whole area that was... Yeah, so this whole thing here was full of TNT and a tripwire. And clearly it has indeed gone off. As you can see, it took out part of this wall here. Part of this wall here also gone. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to take a second and repair that damage so the ocean stops flooding into our Ministry of Truth. Gonna have to repair this pillar for structural reasons. I guess at this point I can reclaim these furnaces. I left them here as part of the trap for anybody that might come through looking to see where my prank war trap stuff was. But yeah, this when this blew up, I didn't realize it was going to take out so much of these windows here. On the plus side, the reason that monsters had time to spawn up here was that I have been very busy just using those sponges from the sponge rental place that I am like 8 months behind on returning. I need to just knock out all of these walls here, because like, I think on the other side of this one, oh, that one does still have water on the other side. Never mind. Well, either way, some of them, I've cleared out all the water. Maybe this, no, this one still has water on the other side of it too. Okay, well, I've made some progress somewhere, I promise. It's just kind of hard to tell. Oh, here it is. So here's some of the progress. See? A lot of this used to just be underwater or behind walls. So anyway, I need to clear all this up, and then we will get back to working on our crazy roller coaster jumps, but we'll have a lot more room for it, thanks to all this space that I've cleared out. Timeskip. As you can see, our pillar is now fully intact, as are the walls and the glass. I also took some time, not only to improvise this rhyme, but also to, less improvisationally, swing through here and just knock out the rest of that water down there. And apparently these are slime chunks, so all of that bother and iskle we did earlier was completely unnecessary. But you know what? That's fine. We are going to just go ahead and harvest these little fellows and fellas in order to begin building a brighter future. I realized some things about minecarts that could be a lot of fun, assuming that we can land on the platform. Not all assumptions are valid. That's okay, because you're great the way you are. Oh, I'm gonna die. Okay. So, one thing that I was able to determine about the rail cart things is apparently you can put them on scaffolding. So, for a push your luck game, obviously I'm gonna want this thing to reset pretty easily, but I love the idea that for the finale, if you really push your luck too far and it's just, you're gonna hit the end of the game no matter what, there's something where a redstone sensor, like the one up there, triggers a piston that's just gonna knock out the scaffolding and blow out the tracks, and then you just fall in lava. So I think that's gonna be a fun element. I've also been doing some work on how I'm going to incorporate the exact lectern mechanisms and how I can encourage screaming during the game. But you know what? We'll save that for the next video. Because the real thing that I want to share with you guys is I figured out what happened with this pillar. I was thinking about it, and I was like, this pillar has had no problems for months, despite these chunks being loaded like fairly frequently, right? And yeah, there's water inside of it, and that leads up to the tripwire, but it would be really unlikely for a mob to spawn down here and swim all the way up past these things and not get caught on them, right? That's just not super likely. So I was like, what kind of mob would be able to swim past there? Or what kind of person? And you know what I think? I think I figured out what Yoo-hoo was gonna, set off this tripwire. I think it was a wandering trader. Because they spawn inside, regardless of lat levels. Yoo-hoo, big summer blowout. It's all gone. So, that is my best guess. But, of course, you guys are welcome to draw your own conclusions and leave them in the YouTube comments section below. This is looking great. I'm so excited about how much space we're going to have to really build out that rail in here and just test out some mechanisms in the next episode. You may have noticed that this episode was mid-roll ad-free. That's thanks to our newest $50 a month Patreon sponsor, Zeus Awoken. In lieu of that mid-roll ad, I will now read a poem of my own devising. Some stones are shaped for skipping town. Some stones are shaped for stacking contraband. Other stones are for bricking phones. Others yet for milling around. We don't know the stones we'll need next year. We see barely days ahead. But there'll be demand, of that I'm sure. And I hope we'll meet it yet. Till next time, y'all, this is Joe Hills from Nashville, Tennessee. Keep adventuring.